lollipop-looking bodies.
Like if you go.
You remember seeing those? They really do kind of look like little lollipops. I'm just gonna draw 6 of them, but there might be like 100 of them. What were these? They're sporangia. Yeah, or singular, sporangium. Remember, you had to see like a little backbone on the side of them.
So if you wanted to,
What's that little backbone called? Excellent.
Yeah.
So it's the A. Annulus. The annulus, yes.
The only reason I know that is because I have a friend who's
And then, oftentimes over the indusium, there is
He had
this
an uncle.
umbrella
He had
shape.
an uncle there.
So sorry, friends on the
think-
stairs.
yeah,
Can
I
we
think-
all be quiet even if you're not part of my class? I'm so sorry.
Oh.
Thank you. Here's that upside down umbrella. It's right side up for you guys because this is backwards. It's hanging from the underside. This is a protective covering over the sporangia. What was that called? It's the indusium. Yes. So here, I'm going to label that right here. This is not going to last very long. So I'm going to say IND for indusium. These little, these little lollipop things, sporangia, S-P-O, for sporangia. And then what's being produced inside of the sporangia? Spores. What is the big life event that's occurring inside of the sporangium that's producing the spores? Meiosis. These sporangia are the sites of meiosis. So everything that I've drawn, except for the little spores, diploid. This whole thing, diploid. The only thing that's haploid that we're dealing with right now are the spores, which maybe you can see, I don't know, they're being released when I do this. Yeah, that's the only part that's haploid. Here they are. There's a couple of little spores in there. There's really like 100 or so. But I'm using a giant child's chalk right now. So I can only draw one. This isn't gonna last long. So here's this spore right there. The annulus opened up and it released the spores. I don't know how the spores just got bigger. They just did in my drawing. Here it is floating through the environment. And this one, it just landed on the ground. Oh, and this is perfect timing. Because green will be haploid. So the spores, they're haploid. They're the results of meiosis. Green is now haploid. That spore, single cell. But it just landed there. And now it's going to undergo mitosis to become a multicellular haploid individual. Which is what again? Gametophyte. Multicellular haploid individual. Is your hand up?
Yes.
So sorry.
Do you know the etymology for this?
I don't.
That's like flat fruit.
Yeah.
It means something very particular, and I'm wondering how it relates.
Well, it makes me think of like annual, like yearly. But I don't know how that relates. I don't know for this one. But let's look that up later. Because that's sometimes helpful. Oftentimes helpful. This looks like a flower. It just represents a multicellular haploid individual. It's a young gametophyte. YG for young gametophyte. This arrow represents more time, and now it is a mature gametophyte. There it is. Actually, they're kind of like heart-shaped. Did you notice that yesterday? Yeah. The gametophytes of ferns, they're kind of heart-shaped. And there are 2 things on the gametophyte. Sorry, excuse me.
You're good.
Not supposed to be. Yeah. What are those 2 things that are born on a gametophyte? Yeah. What was it? An antheridium and an archegonium. Yes. The antheridia, they have a bunch of little tiny dots inside. You might have seen that in the microscope yesterday. What are those little dots inside of the antheridium? Sperm cells. They're sperm cells. Yes. It's always what's produced inside of an antheridium. And then towards the middle, also kind of circular structure, but with like one large dot in the middle. What is that one large dot in the middle? Egg. Oh yeah, and I forgot. What more importantly, what is that whole circle with the egg inside of it? archegonia. Exactly. So we have both Antheridia, A-N-T-H, with sperm, and archegonia, A-R-C-H, with an egg. Cool. Great. Now, one of the pictures, you're all going to go through today's lecture slides on your own after this. And you'll notice that actually there's usually not just a single gametophyte. Wherever that spore just landed, I bet a lot of other spores landed there too. And there's usually like a cluster of gametophytes, and this is important because the sperm cells, they're released. And sperm cells, they're gonna do what they always do. They're gonna be trying to find an egg so that the sperm and the egg can undergo fertilization to form what again? A zygote. Question?
So when the sperm are released, are they released just into the environment to find?
They sort of are, but they're restricted to swimming. So yes, they're released into the environment, but they're not these airborne spores. The sperm cells are restricted to water, which is why these gametophytes, they're not like abundant by any means. You could go looking for them in the community forest and find one after like days of looking. But the gametophytes themselves and the sperm cells that are released are restricted to being wet. They have to be wet. If this thing gets dried out, the whole gametophyte's gonna die. Those sperm cells are not gonna be able to swim to another gametophyte to find an egg. So that's the key here. There's actually several gametophytes right next to each other, and hopefully those several gametophytes that are right next to each other had different parents. Because otherwise it would be inbreeding, right? If this sperm cell from this gametophyte fertilized this egg cell from that same gametophyte, that would be some serious inbreeding, and that's just not good. We talked about like the importance of sexual reproduction earlier this semester. It's better to get the genetic variation, and that's why if there's several gametophytes right next to each other, the sperm cell from one of those gametophytes is going to fertilize this egg right there in that archegonium. The egg is retained. That's old news. Remember, egg has been being retained. It was even retained in the bryophytes.
So within that, then, like if one fern has gametophytes and the gametophytes from the different gametophyte sperm will fertilize the egg, is it still part of the same gametophyte group, like from that fern?
Probably. It's yeah, the sperm cell that fertilized this egg is got to be from a nearby gametophyte. And so hopefully these nearby gametophytes didn't all come from like this one leaf. Yeah. Hopefully they came from some other plant, and that area was just accumulating spores from various individuals. So now that has question.
Yeah, like what kind of like deformities do these plants get?
Oh, if they inbreed, then the types of deformities that they might get is the big one that's really important for them is a reduction in the ability to fight off diseases. So they will lose genetic variation, and genetic variation is really important because if a disease comes by, it's only going to wipe out some of those individuals, but the other individuals will survive. Yes?
What kinds of areas collect spores that then become gametophytes? So they like wet soil, or like what do the sperms actually swim?
Me and the TAs were just talking about this morning. What are those good areas? Like where can you maybe go try to find a gametophyte or a cluster of gametophytes? It's got to be wet, but not too wet, because then it'll get washed away. It's got to be sunny, but not too sunny, because then it'll dry out. It's got to be protected, because wind will dry them out too. So it's got to be like maybe under a plant or like under a woody thing or something like that. Yeah, a lot of times they're protected from too much sun, just the right amount of moisture, and these things. Remember the gametophyte I had asked you the other day, and you all answered correctly. Like, what did this gametophyte of the fern or of all of these C3 vascular plants, what did it remind you of? And the answer was a liverwort. Remember the liverworts? They were restricted to wet places that were not too sunny and not too wet, not too dry. These have those same restrictions.
Does the sperm like swim through wet soil, or?
It literally swims through wet soil, but hopefully it's wet enough. Like usually this happens when it's actively raining. In fact, a raindrop might be responsible for kind of cracking that antheridium open. Yeah.
So those spores are meiospores.
These spores, yes, these spores are meiospores. These ones,
Yeah,
were meiospores, yes.
Yes.
Exactly. Which means that these sperm cells and these egg cells, they're all a result of mitosis. So So that would be some serious inbreeding, actually. Yes.
How does the phlegm infect?
They have flagella. So the sperm cell is a single cell. It's got a nucleus, and then I believe I remember correctly that fern sperm have several flagella. Some are kind of different sizes.
Is that like what was on the board yesterday?
Did we have we had an antherae, we had this on the board yesterday. I don't think we had a picture of a sperm cell.
There's some with arms and whatnot.
Oh, the thing with arms that kind of looked, yeah. Those were elaters of horsetails. So that was not the same thing, but totally see where that came from. Yes.
So that gametophyte has multiple eggs, so will one gametophyte bear multiple sporophytes?
You would think. But no. One gametophyte, even though it's got multiple eggs, only one of those, likely, only one of those will get fertilized. And by the time one has been fertilized, which I'm going to do right now, sperm cell from over here, from a nearby gametophyte, it got on top of this gametophyte and it fertilized this egg right here. And now I'm going to do yellow. Thank you again, Sandra. Pivotal. So now that it is yellow, it's no longer an egg. What is it? It is a zygote. That zygote, it's ploidy? It's two-end diploid. Yeah, a signal is sent to the other cells of the gametophyte once fertilization has taken place, and that signal is saying, don't waste your energy on maintaining these eggs anymore. We're good here. Because what's gonna emerge from this is, well, let me ask you this. Once this diploid zygote undergoes mitosis, then what is it? It's a sporophyte. It's a young sporophyte, yes, because the zygote was diploid, but it was a single cell. Once that cell has become multiple cells via mitosis, it's still diploid, and when you've got a multicellular structure that's diploid, it's a sporophyte. Yeah. Totes. Yeah, and that sporophyte is gonna look like this, like a perfect little curly cube. Did you guys see some of these yesterday in the greenhouse?
Fiddleheads.
What was that called? Yeah. Fiddleheads. F-I for fiddlehead. Yeah, this fiddlehead is a young sporophyte.
I noticed in the dome there's like some fiddleheads that are just sticking straight out of the ground. So like would that be like the result of a gametophyte or like propagation underground?
So this was the very first leaf, right? But so what's gonna happen to this leaf is it's gonna get bigger, it's gonna do photosynthesis, and eventually it's gonna be robust enough, it's gonna have enough nutrients stored up that it's gonna be able to shoot out a rhizome. That's the rhizome. Here, I'll make it over here. Nice nail. Now, from this rhizome, there might be more leaves. And those leaves will also all start off as a little curly Q. And what you were seeing in the greenhouse yesterday, mostly, were fiddleheads that were derived from a more mature sporophyte. I don't think you were seeing very many very first fiddleheads that were from the gametophyte, except for the one that was in the classroom. So was it the third to last dissecting scope demo station from lab yesterday? It was just a little petri dish, and it had a little green thing with a little leaf coming out of it. That's what this was. That was before it had grown more. Most of the ones you saw in the greenhouse were fiddleheads from a more mature part of the body. Yes?
So are the rhizoids not exist until that first fiddlehead is...
No, they do. I just didn't draw them on here. The rhizoids would be right here on the gametophyte.
Okay. And
Yeah.
then it shoots out a new rhizoid that has new fiddleheads.
Yes. So this was the rhizome. Sorry, this was the rhizome.
Okay.
Yeah, that sounds like rhizoid, and they're very different things, actually. The rhizoids are these root-like structures, but they're not true roots, and they're just in the gametophyte. The rhizome, what's a rhizome again? A modified stem. A lateral modified stem that's underground. Yeah, exactly. And now from the rhizome, stem, because actually, yeah, all of those things about vascular tissue and vasculature, they're restricted to the sporophyte. But a gametophyte is not vascular. So now we have true stem, we have true leaf, and we'll also have some true roots. Yeah, so my yellow here, that's it, for a yellow. These yellow here, these were true roots. The green, those were rhizoids.
Or rhizoids specifically,
Rhizoids in this life cycle are specifically haploid, and they're not absorbing anything. The whole point of a rhizoid in this case is just to keep the gametophyte attached to its rock or its piece of wood that it's attached to. Yeah, but these roots are absorbing water, and that's why the sporophyte is bigger and better than the little baby gametophyte. Yes.
Is one fiddlehead only going to become one leaf?
One fiddlehead will become one leaf. Yes.
So do multiple fiddleheads go in the same place with multiple leaves or no?
Yes. You will have multiple fiddleheads coming from the same place. Yes. So I'm out of yellow. But I need to make the connection between this end and this beginning. Because this is a circle now. So on these, I'm sorry, I'm going to have to do it in green. Here is one of these. It's not haploid, I swear. It's diploid. It's just green now, which makes more sense actually, because they are photosynthetic. Now is a leaf like this. I'm just going to do a couple leaflets to preserve my chalk. And on the undersides of these leaves are little sori. And again, what that picture was a zoomed in version of one of those little sori. And so the sorus that's made from this, the leaf that's mature, it used to be a fiddlehead, now it's a mature leaf, it's got mature sori, and in the sori we've got spores being produced. The spores from that sorus will produce a gametophyte, which will produce egg and sperm, and then they'll produce another. Thank you.
Yay!
Nice.
Yay!
I'm over this. Several of my nice nails.
We'll all pitch in to get you
Thank you. I should do it myself. Thank you.
She's an artist too.
I just started doing this like a year ago.
Well, can't you tell she's
Yeah, amazing art here.
Beautiful.
Questions?
What are the little like brown hair-like things on the stems here?
The question was, what are these brown things on the stem? These are scales. They're fancy trichomes. They're highly modified fancy trichomes that are just kind of protective over that mid vein. They're used a lot in identification. Yeah, like are the scales 1 millimeter at their base or 3 millimeters at their base? Like you have to identify species based on those fine details. They are relatively protective. So that was the fern life cycle.